WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. And today I have Hamburg Malt Whiskey. Ooh, is it produced in Hamburg? No, it was distilled in the distillery Ardmore in the Highlands of Scotland. And then it was brought to Hamburg in a ex-Lefroy cask, aged for 7 years at the, the Manufaktur Lehmwitz. So Lehmwitz is the name of the owner. That's Marco Lehmwitz. He's an independent bottler here in Hamburg. And Manufaktur just means manufacturer. So they actually make something. Well, he doesn't make, he creates something. And so at the moment, he has about 12 different casks at his store. And about every 3 to 4 months, there's a new addition. Always Lefroy casks, different distilleries. He has had different distilleries he uses for the juice. And this time, he actually let it be finished in a PX, Pedro Jimenez, sherry cask from the Bodega del Gordo Zuleta in Spain. And this is cask strength 58.1%. And it's one of 230 bottles worldwide. So it's been on the market now since January 2018. And at the Hansa Spirit, the whiskey fair in Hamburg once a year, I actually interviewed Marco in German and learned a little bit about what they're doing and especially about this. I think this is actually their 3rd or 4th release so far. And that's what their concept is. They're not going to actually distill anything themselves, but they're going to take great new make from Scotland, fill it up into usually Lefroy cask, bring it to Hamburg, let it mature here, and then bottle it in Germany. It's not allowed to be called Scotch. Scotch is only bottled in Scotland. If it's bottled outside of the country, it cannot be called Scotch. And therefore, it's called Hamburg Malt Whiskey. It was bottled and matured in Hamburg, and therefore they are allowed to do that. All right, so my nose says, interesting. Now, this is a fairly smoky, peaty whiskey. So imagine you're at a barbecue and you take those barbecue briquettes, or maybe you take some charcoal wood and you put it under the grill, and you're at a picnic and you ignite it, and before you ignite it, you have that bag that you pour in there, and that little bit of dust goes up in the air, and that smokiness. That's exactly what I get here. Paired together with a dark chocolate and also a dark cherry note. More of a sour cherry than a sweet cherry. Cherry as in Cherry, not Sherry. And that's a very interesting combination. Over here in Europe, we have something called Moncherie, and it's a little piece of chocolate. And inside the chocolate is a little bit of brandy, and inside that brandy, there's a little bit of a cherry, and you bite into it and it's got a nice moment, and a lot of what I get here is a smoky Moncherie. So 58.1%. I'm going to nip, put some water, and then try again. Wow, the first thing I get is Lefroy. Wow, those Lefroy casks were fairly young. The second thing I get is a little bit of a dryness. I think Ardmore is actually famous for dryness. I think it was the 20-year-old Ardmore I had at a whiskey tasting recently. Not my cup of tea either. All the other people are like, yeah, I'm not really sure. And I was like, it's peaty, smoky. And said, well, yes, Jason, lightly. But the other things are more important. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't get over that peatiness. And that's one of my problems I have. Now, my friend Torsten, who may love Lefroy and other peaty things, probably would very much enjoy this. And this is the interesting part. It's 7 years old, yet it doesn't taste like it's 7. It tastes like it's 12 or even a little older. It's fairly smooth, it's oily, it's creamy. Well done, Marco, in the maturing of this. This bottle or this cask was actually mature enough and ripe for the pickings. But as I said, this just isn't my cup of tea. Oops, I wanted to add a little bit of water. So I'm going to water it down to, dilute it down to about 42, 44%. A lot better on the nose for me. The PX comes through. Very nice. Fruity, creamy, Lafroigy. Oh, at the end you have a little bit of that campfire, a little bit of that ashtray, a little bit of like an old cigar. Not mine's, but I'm sure other people are going, "Oh, my mouth is watering. Oh, Jason, exactly what I want." It's not what I want. And the interesting thing, cask strength, it's actually very, very nice at 58.1%. Mmm. Mmm. It doesn't need water. It's really, really good. Very, very sweet. Very, very mellow. Very, very creamy. And yet, there's that little bit of that Lafroig, and that's not what I like. All right, I'm going to give it a C minus because it's not my cup of tea. My friend Torsten probably would give it a B plus because he's going to go, yummy, yummy, yummy. Hamburg finally has its own whiskey. It's bottled and matured in the city of Hamburg, and yet Hamburg does not have its own distillery. Many of the states have distilleries. We have Stork rye whiskey, for example, in Brandenburg by Berlin. We have down in Bavaria, we have a couple different distilleries, I think, in the one little village called Auen, O-W-E-N, not Owen, Auen. There's like 13 different distilleries. If you go to Bavaria, I just did a video from Stonewood. There's all these different, I've done a McRaven as well from the North Rhine-Westphalia. There's all these distilleries all over Germany. But Hamburg doesn't have a distillery, but we do have an independent bottler. And we can say it's a Hamburg malt whiskey. Thank you very much, Marco. So 80 euros is for the bottle. I think that's a tick too expensive for my own personal taste. I think 60 euros would have been fantastic. 80 euros, of course, he wants to reinvest the money and buy new casks, and he's a businessman. He also wants to make a little bit of profit, which I can all totally understand. So I'm going to give it, in my rating, of course, a D. And then if I'm my friend who gave it a B plus, it's going to be around a C for the value for money, which definitely means try it. If you can, it's well worth it. So, WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Hamburg single malt whiskey with a PX cask finish. Why not? Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.